So I think before we dive into the next thing here, Scott, I think this is probably the most underrated portion of this shop analyzer tool, which is them pulling in all of the reviews in one place for us to be able to see. And so once we establish our niche, we're probably going to have a list of shops that we see come up over and over again. Instead of going to their page and scrolling around and looking through everything, we can actually come in here and look at all of the new reviews that they're getting and get a summary of everything that's going on with the shop, which I think is kind of cool. We can also see positive and negative reviews at the level of the shop. So you'll see, okay, let's look at what our competitors are doing really well and what they're not doing very well.
Great point.
And because they're doing some sentiment analysis on this, right? They're saying, hey, these are the 1-2 stars. These are the 5 stars. Here's the negative ones. Here's the positive ones. Here's kind of the neutral ones, or just sorted by date. We can easily go in and say, hey, maybe I don't want to create that product, or maybe instead of it being a digital thing, I want to offer a physical option because I'm seeing all of the negative feedback from my competitors have that same thing that's coming up over and over again. This is something that was not easily doable before just on Etsy itself, and having this pulled into one place where we're already looking at the shop to see what their listings are doing, having the ability and the insight to go in and look at their reviews at that level is really interesting to me.
I think this is great. I want to explore this a little bit further. So if you look at the one there, yep, that one right there, it says, I did not like that it did not provide a detailed intervention for each. Right there, that is a gold nugget for, number one, this seller, but also for anyone else that's in this niche, because obviously that is something that was left out of this product. So that's something that probably could be easily implemented. And then you add it, or you create your own version that has that in there, and you're going to highlight that comes with that. That's going to also help you convert higher. I love it though, Chris, like you said, using the shop analyzer, we're able to not just look at the overview of everything. That's great. The listings, that's awesome. But the reviews, that's a hidden little gem, because like you said, you'd have to go and skim through everything inside of Etsy, which can be clunky at times. Here, we're pulling it right in, and you just went with that one little toggle up there where it says negative. You can go and say, okay, what's the positive, right? We can click on that. And then we can see what people are saying that was great. Okay. And we can start to see some of the verbiage that they're using. We can use that stuff in our title, in our description. We might even pick up some tags that we weren't thinking, because how it's being used, who it's being used for. Like this here, to me, is gold. When you're able to see from actual people that purchased, right? Like any other thing that you would say, Chris, to someone that is trying to develop a better product in a crowded niche? Is this something that you think would help them?
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to point it out. I think the only thing that could make this better, Cody and Everbee team, would be to link this back over to the product so that I can go look at the specific product, or give me the product name inside of the review itself so that I can go, okay, this is a problem for this specific product. I understand this is the shop analyzer. And if we go into the individual listings, we can see the reviews and all of that happy stuff. But since this is kind of a one-stop shop dashboard, that would be the only thing that would take this to the next level. But if what we're looking at is saying, okay, I want to create a resource for people who are struggling with mental health, or need, the therapy resources, or the behavioral notebooks, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
This is a really cool way to be able to very easily understand exactly what's working. And if I remember correctly, somebody corrects me in the comments, I'm sure you will. On Etsy itself, there's only 2 ways to sort review. It's like suggested and then newest first.
Right.
And what this allows us to do is say, what are the oldest? So that I don't have to scroll through. Maybe they fixed the problem. What are the newest ones? Let me see those. And then what are the positive and what are the negative? And yes, we can go into Etsy and we can click on the filters and I can look just at once, but that's not necessarily helpful, especially when we're looking at the shop level to determine if this somebody's that is actually a competitor, or if we're trying to really track down what they're doing well and what they're not doing well with specific products. This is a great way to be able to start to do that.
Yeah. And I also wanted to highlight, like, if you look at the very top, right, the Growth Garden shop, you can at a glance see, without even going into anything, it's got 5,860 sales, right? It's got a 4-star rating, 370, and it's been since 2023. So I just think like that's a great thing to be able to see at a glance, right? Then you're clicking into the overview, and now we're seeing, okay, monthly sales, $13,000, 432 monthly sales, $19 on the average price, right? So all of this stuff at a glance, you don't get this on Etsy unless you're going to be able to dig through. You're not going to see the revenue numbers, right? And you're not even going to see the review rate conversion, right? It's 6%, 116 listings. So to me, having this new shop analyzer is, to me, a game changer for people that are just getting started, people that want to go into additional sub niches, that want to build it out, want to learn more about their audience on how they can make better products by looking at products they might not even considered creating yet. And then going like, oh, if I created that, but I added this and this, it's going to make it even better. So to me, this is a gold nugget right here to be able to see all of this information at your fingertips.
So Scott, we talked a minute ago about sorting sales versus revenue, right?
Yep.
This overview screen, once you get into the shop analyzer for the specific shop, resolves that problem completely. And this is something that I think is missing in a lot of people's research. They say, I want to sell X, Y, or Z. My competitors, they're only selling things at $4 or whatever it is, because those are the listings that people have seen. What Everbee did is they ran through all of the listings. And so in this case, you actually get to see a couple interesting things here. The first, to me, at the overview level, is this price breakdown. What's the average thing that's selling in this shop? I don't care about the cheapest thing. What's the average thing? $20? Okay. If I'm selling the same type of products as this shop, is that enough for me to be able to make my margin? Is this somebody I can actually compete with? In the digital product space? Yeah, probably. If we're talking about the $466 welder or whatever it is, probably not. Right. And so that's interesting to me. And then the other thing, and we talked about this for a minute, is just the overall shop stats. I think one thing that people really don't understand is overall shop health. And so looking at this, if we saw 1 sale per listing or 2 sales per listing, probably not a good person to look at from competition. But here they have 116 listings. They're selling an average of 51 things per listing. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not top heavy, because everybody runs into the Pareto principle, right? 20% of your listings produce 80% of results. But it's still good to know that they're not just launching stuff to launch stuff and try to get into the algorithm. If I saw this the other way, I saw 1 sale per listing or 5 sales per listing, it might not be as good of a competitor to look at, because we know that they're throwing up a lot of things that aren't working. And so, yes, we could dive in and dig through and say, okay, this one's selling, this one's not, this one's selling. But as soon as that number gets to 1,000, which it does in a lot of cases, you don't want to have to dig through and figure out each individual thing that's selling. This is a good way at a glance to see the overall health of a shop. Whoever shop this is, you're doing a good job. Keep up the good work. And I love seeing somebody that's selling digital stuff at an average price point of $20.
Yeah. And I'll just wrap up with saying, like, this is a fairly new shop. We looked at it earlier, and I believe it's 18 months old. So yeah, this is definitely something unique, something I believe has a lot of legs, and it is a brand, as we talk about. They are focusing on mental health, self-growth, all of those things. This definitely could stand on its own, even if it wasn't selling on Etsy. So if you guys are not yet trying Everbee, I definitely strongly recommend that you do. Head on over to brandcreators.com/Everbee. Give it a try. And yes, we are an affiliate for it, but we use the product. The only products that we ever talk about that we're an affiliate for are the ones that we actually use. And I do believe this is a huge, huge new update that they just added to the app. So I'd definitely give it a try.